The basic point here is that there is no necessity of you having a lot of data or dots in order for you to take a decision. If you just have the first principle that applies in that situation, if you can identify the first principles, the first principle need not be one, multiple first principles might apply in that situation. But if you can distill the essence of the situation and identify the first principles involved, even without exposure, even without data, even without dots, you can still take that decision and turn out to be right. This is my main point. The only caveat here is that first principles often take a lot of time to catch up. But I will come to this caveat later on. Let me first actually give you an example of a few examples. So I will give you two examples, and then I will give you two predictions based on this methodology. Example is when Narayan Murthy was hiring Sikka. Just based on first principles, one could have said that this will not work out. Why? What is that first principle? The first principle that applies in that situation is that of values. Narayan Murthy's values are totally opposed, not different, totally opposite to the values of Sikka. And what are these values? So the basic value Narayan Murthy has is that of compassionate capitalist, which means that he is a capitalist, but he was a socialist earlier. So then he sort of took a middle ground and he called it compassionate capitalism, which means in practical terms, it means that the salary of the CEO of Infosys cannot be, let's say, 10 times more than the salary of an average or the lowest employee. Right? This is in principle, this is the meaning of compassionate capitalism. However, American version of capitalism is totally opposite. It says that a CEO can even earn $100 million. His salary can be even 500 times the salary of the average worker in that company. And Sikka belongs to that school of thought, that philosophy. So this is the basic value conflict. And this value conflict, if both people are still having some say in the company, and if the company is already based on the DNA of Narayan Murthy, and it's reasonable to assume that Narayan Murthy would have put people like him in the organization, in the DNA of the company. So this is the value conflict, and Sikka will not fit in the company, and which is what happened. So this is example number one. Second example is that of Rocket Internet. A lot of its startups did not fly. And the first principle that was wrong there was they put McKinsey, BCG consultants as entrepreneurs. A professional is totally different than an entrepreneur. A professional thinks linearly. He's thinking of his salary, his increment, his bonuses, and not necessarily 8-10% increment, even his next promotion, where he can even get a 50% raise or a double salary. But he's thinking in that terms. He's not that much creative. An entrepreneur, I don't want to, maybe it sounds that I'm belittling or berating a professional, but this is not my intent. Obviously, I have more admiration for entrepreneurs, so maybe that is. But please don't get me my intent wrong. Entrepreneur does not think linearly. He can go with five years without any salary, but he's attached. He's taking a lot of non-process oriented steps. So entrepreneur is different from a professional, and that is the first principle that got violated, and Rocket Internet could not work. But now you would say that I'm using two past examples to fit my theory. So let me actually give two predictions. First prediction is about Netflix. Netflix has now changed their approach because they're losing subscribers. Their approach is now to lower the pricing and put ads in their content. Now, what my view is that this will not work and Netflix will suffer. Why? The first principle that is involved here is that of a positioning. Netflix enjoys, at least in India, enjoys a premium positioning. The prices are 2-3 times higher than Amazon, Hotstar, Sony, Z, etc. The prices are higher and their content is also richer and better. The content of Amazon Prime Video is also a lot, but it's not better content. Disney Hotstar content is very good, but it's not a lot. Netflix has both lot of content and good quality content, and hence they charge higher for that, and they have a premium positioning. But now, because of the pressure of subscriber growth, they are now entering into lower segment. This, I believe, is not at the level of first principle itself. It can be one can reject this idea. For example, imagine Mercedes getting into the segment of Maruti, or Apple getting into the segment of Micromax or Vivo. It will not work out just based on the marketing principles. So this is my prediction about Netflix, that this approach will not work out. My second prediction is about Chaayos. I made this prediction 5-6 years back. My prediction is that Chaayos, if they stick to tea, just as Starbucks sticks to coffee as the main item, and if they don't pivot their business model will not fly. And the reason for that is a tea is not same as coffee. A very tasty coffee can be brewed and can be made using machines, but tea cannot be. And the reason for this first principle is I have never tasted any tea from a machine which was better than the homemade or a tapri or a kiosk made tea when it is made in the frying pan, in the pan, right? So that is the first principle. So just based on taste, and if they only rely on tea, then they will not fly. Now, if they pivot and if they change their business model and they start getting into coffee also and multiple eating items, etc., or coffee machines, etc., if they pivot, then their business model can succeed. But the basic point I summarize is that sometimes you can just eliminate all the noise, all the data, all the analysis, and just identify the first principle involved, and you will be able to take the decision. Now, the caveat here is that human beings take a lot of time to come to senses, and hence first principles might take a lot of time to reflect. For example, if the first principles say that Bitcoin is overvalued, but there could still be a bubble. There could still be a bubble in startup funding. There could still be a bubble that stock market keeps on going higher, but there is a recession right now, or there is a recession projected right now. So first principles do catch up, but they take time. So your decision that you're taking based on first principles might take a lot of time for people to know that it was the right decision. This is the caveat. Thank you.